Before we begin, I'd like to just take a quick moment to let you guys know how much I appreciate the great team here at McCreary's Home Furnishings. They've partnered with me to make this show and podcast happen. McCreary's is unlike any furniture store in Sacramento. Not only do they carry the best furniture in town, they're also family owned and operated for 3 generations. Did you know that McCreary's also offers complimentary design services? That's right, the same services which could cost you hundreds an hour are offered all complimentary with purchase. I love my furniture from McCreary's, and I know you will too. Now, on to the show. Welcome to the Jerry Reynolds Show here at McCreary's beautiful studio and home of the finest furnishings, home furnishings in all of Sacramento. And on that kind of note, I want to introduce our wonderful guest here this evening, Mr. Jason Ross of many hats. We'll get into all that. Currently 1140 doing Sac State football, Sacramento Kings basketball, morning show. Do you wash cars or anything?
That's enough hats, isn't it?
That is enough hats.
That's a lot of hats, Jerry.
And actually, you kind of need a hat. You're getting a little thin up
We're
there.
starting there already?
Yeah, we are. We got to take cheap shots.
Well, just get them all out of the front. Just get them all out of the front. If I would wear a hat, but this set looks great. I didn't want to wear a hat on here.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean,
can't tarnish it.
I should apologize, but that probably
it
wouldn't be me, would it? No,
that's right.
No, cheap shots are kind of where I'm at. But couple things going back into your past. You graduated from UC Davis in '94, and now this is what I don't know: a Bachelor of Arts in Rhetoric and Communications. Now, what does that exactly mean?
Is that BS? Basically, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
The rhetoric was the title. Obviously, communications is more of what my background was. But UC Davis did more of their communication studies with a lot of theory stuff, more of men and women differences, nonverbal, verbal, like Socrates, Plato, like historical stuff. I wanted to sit in front of a camera and a microphone. That's not a school that necessarily did that. But once I knew I wanted to get into kind of media, that's the major I ultimately chose.
Now, prior to going to UC Davis, what about high school and some of your interest at that time?
Well, I always have loved sports from day one. From my family, my cousin years ago, Greg Nettles, played for the Yankees.
Oh,
so
wow,
I always wanted to be third base for the Yankees, and
didn't work out, did it?
Well, there's still time.
Yeah,
there's still time. I can wear my Yankees hat.
That's a good point.
I haven't given up, Jerry. You never should give up.
You should never give up.
Yeah. Now the Yankees haven't called. I still wait by the phone.
Yeah.
But I'll keep waiting.
Yeah.
But yeah, played sports all growing up in grade school, high school. Tried at Davis as well. I just wasn't good enough, but loved it. I absolutely loved a bunch of sports, played everything I could. I always felt like I was good enough to be on all the teams, but I was never the star. And that was fine. I was kind of, I would say, closer to natural at a lot of the things, but never like, wow, he's the best player on the team. It's just, I was decent at a lot of sports.
Yeah, it's kind of a catch-22, isn't it? I mean, I always say it's like the infielder that can play a lot of spots.
Right.
You know, the character actor in movies that have great careers, and everybody knows their face, but they don't.
But where did I know you from?
Yeah, exactly, that type thing, and yet not quite star billing, star money, that sort of thing.
Which I was fine with. I just, I tried to play as long as I could. And like I said, I went to Davis initially and redshirted in baseball. And then was playing basketball all the time. And growing up in Southern California, watching UCLA or other schools play, I thought, college basketball, I mean, you've got to be a shooting guard, 6'6". I was watching Reggie Miller. I'm like, I'm nowhere near as tall as him and near as good as him. So I never thought about playing basketball in college, but I was playing all the time and then playing with the guys on the team. And they said, well, why aren't you on this team? Why don't you come out for the team? So my third year at Davis, went out for the team. Made it all the way to the end, got cut. A buddy of mine was doing the broadcasting. He's like, I'm doing the game this weekend. You've been with the team. Why don't you sit in with me? And I thought, well, sure. And right then and there, I'm like, this is exactly what I want to do.
Yeah, this is what you want to do.
Stay in
So
sports.
before that moment, that hadn't been something, as talking to Grant Napier, that's one of those things he worked on when he's 4 years
I know,
old.
isn't
I
that
think,
crazy? Did he do the commercials for you?
No.
No, you haven't heard him do his commercial. Like he did commercials for the class in grade school. But
Yeah.
just crazy.
Yeah, and then going out at recess and calling the game,
Right.
Little kids were playing with.
Yes.
I mean, there's just many elements there that's hard to grasp.
Right.
But knowing Grant, that's who he is.
him.
And I mean, it's just gifted. But I mean, in your case, through high school, you were more interested in just normal pursuits, being an athlete. Going to school.
And
now, what high school did you go to?
Woodbridge and Irvine. So
Okay.
it was a good school. We had, actually really good sports programs. Most famous NBA guy, Adam Keefe, went there.
Sure.
So I was a freshman when they won the state title. He was a junior. Then my sophomore year, he was still playing, and obviously went on to an NBA career, lottery pick. And
He was lottery pick of Utah, I think, right?
Yeah. Or no, Atlanta. The Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah,
that ended
that's
with the
right.
Jazz.
11th or 12th. I always remember scouting him like tough guy.
Yeah.
And I think one of those things, he was just so tough and physical in the college game, but it didn't quite translate to the NBA. He could still play.
Yeah.
But
And a great volleyball player. He's a great athlete.
One of those guys that probably even better volleyball, wasn't he?
Yeah. I always say he's the second greatest athlete out of Woodbridge. And
I think a lot of people would agree with that.
yeah, second. And so who's first? Well,
we don't.
I would say, but
Of course.
we don't know if the rest would say that.
And obviously, your parents, they would have a strong opinions
They actually
on
wouldn't
that.
agree.
That's why I always told a story about my mother. We was talking about Larry Bird, a different deal. But anyway, she said, well, wasn't he a real good player, Jerry? I said, yeah, he really was.
Yeah.
She said, was he better than you? I said, oh, Mom, get serious.
Come
Of course
on.
not.
What has he ever done?
What's he ever, come on.
Exactly.
But, moms.
Yeah.
Our moms.
They should. They should support you.
They should say
Yeah.
that. They don't need to know everything.
That's right. That's right.
It's better that way.
Less is better, yeah.
But, okay, so that was your kind of moment of, and then, so after that kind of tipping your foot into the well, what happened after that?
Yeah, so I guess just one prior thing, which some people, I guess, find it hard to believe. Prior to that, part of the thing of going to Davis was grade school, opportunity to play some sports. Also, I had an interest in maybe becoming a vet. And so that's great school for that. And I was doing a lot of the pre-med stuff, but that's, if I'm going in, you got to go all in. And I worked a summer before that year that I tried out for basketball at the vet and enjoyed it. But I realized, no, that's not where I wanted to go. The basketball thing, I was trying to, I wasn't going to go anywhere further than even a minimal role on the Davis team, if any. But then the announcing part, came to fruition.
Now, you've done, of course, basketball, football, baseball, I think.
And a little bit of soccer. I'm trying to think of, but willing to do whatever. Yeah.
So, I mean, what would be your favorite?
It's really seasonal, and I don't know if I know you're a sports fan in general. Like people ask you, I'm sure ask me, and maybe some people just assume it's basketball for you. But I don't know, when football's going, I'm really into it. When baseball's going, Olympics, tennis, sometimes golf. I mean, I honestly enjoy just about every sport, and I can get totally engaged into whatever I'm watching, whether I'm as a fan attending it or at home on the TV.
That's a great point. I people always assume, that my first love was basketball, and it really wasn't. It was baseball.
Yeah, I thought so.
Baseball, and I was very good. I even played on the varsity in 8th grade.
Wow.
They made exceptions for some small schools. But with basketball, with the interest from fans in Indiana, it's pretty hard not to fall on, let's face it.
Right.
You play in front of 3,000 or 4,000 people every night, and cheerleaders and the whole bit. It's, in baseball was parents and a couple of people,
a few others,
yeah. And so it didn't take me long to, I think this is probably going to work better for me.
You got the basketball bug.
Yeah.
So you were much better, you'd say, at baseball than basketball?
I was early,
yeah.
But I didn't put the time in, I did, it's off the topic, but I was invited to a tryout camp for the Pittsburgh Pirates after my senior year.
Okay.
And it's in Seymour, Indiana. I always remember it because they, in those days, and this just goes back, only the old people would remember that, where they had scouts everywhere, and it had about 50 kids come in from, I think, western Ohio and southern Indiana and northern Kentucky, and worked a few days. But I always remember the man running the thing was a guy named Pete Boland, who was one of the main scouts for the Pirates, and he called me in on the second day, and we talked a little bit, and he said, I understand you're really a good basketball player and got some scholarships offered. I said, yes, sir. He said, well, that's probably what you ought to do. he said, you got great hands, but you don't hit with power, and your arm isn't strong enough. And I said, nope.
Crush your spirit.
My spirit was crushed there for a little while, but But you
were there.
But the guy, I know he's right.
Yeah.
He was trying to just be straight with me, and I think, I think most athletes, if somebody just tells you as straight and as honest as they can, it's probably best.
Yeah, no, that's true. You have to. I still think people have to fight through. Maybe they find a lane somewhere, but once you get to about as far as you can, then it's all right. This is probably
there's
my
times,
ceiling.
obviously, athletes like I do that have been told something that really wasn't accurate.
Right,
Lamar Jackson's a pretty good example of that right now.
Yeah, hey, let's make you a receiver. No, he might be the MVP, or probably will be the MVP.
Yeah, probably will.
And people want more people like him now. Yeah.
But like at Davis, then basically it was just a case where whatever sport was up, you were into it.
I was broadcasting it or into it or trying to play it. I played all sorts of weird intramurals. Once like the definite playing on the team run was done, it was softball to co-ed softball, water polo, indoor hockey, just anything. I just love sports, could never get enough. I played wiffle ball with all my roroommates. Just
great
made
game.
Up games. Whatever we could.
Yeah, that I always say. Growing up, when you didn't have a lot of kids, you always made up your own rules and games. We'd have like 8 kids in our little country area there, and so you couldn't have enough for 2 baseball, but you have 4 on 4, and so you could only play on one half the field or something like that. And this, that, and the other. But, you do what you do to make it fun.
And then you're influenced by what you see. I can remember being very young, and someone we both ended up getting to know who worked with the Kings was Eric Hayden, who was a team doctor, but a famous Olympian. And I remember putting on, I guess it was roller skates back then, and I was really young, and I pretended to be a speed skater in the street. And, whatever you watched, whatever influenced you, and then it's like, I can be Dr. J. I can be Eric Hayden. I can be, Jimmy Connors, and you just try to be all those people.
Yeah, you have, I always say too, as a kid growing up, your heroes are usually, just a few years older than you. My hero as a high school kid or freshman, 8th grader was Marvin Pruitt, which nobody, but he was Marvelous Marvin in French Lick and Springs Valley High School and led the team to state and played at Evansville. It's like, wow, Marvelous Marvin. If I could just be like that, that was something. But you're talking about Eric Hayden, and I always remember this because he was obviously team doctor, especially for the Monarchs when I was running the Monarchs, and I know what a huge international hero and celebrity he was, as you do. And almost none of the players did. And he was such a humble...
Yeah, you would never guess it.
Humble, nice man. It's not something he'd ever bring up. And I'm thinking, but...
Yeah, but he was an athlete of the century, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah. You can't
icon.
Get bigger than he was.
And just to not know.
And but that's how... I always say that's how things slip away. We're... Within 5 or 10 years, the next group really doesn't know who came before them.
Right.
And of course, I remember when I was working for Bill Russell, and Bill Russell came to coach and be the general manager of the Kings, and I was assistant coach working for Bill. And so a lot of the players, they kind of remembered him being a player, but they said they just remember him as a TV announcer because he and Rick Barry were doing a lot of the NBA games for a few years, and he did some commercials. So, but it's like, what?
Right.
At that time, maybe certainly the greatest winner of all time.
Sure. Well, and that's a weird reality even now where, the best era in Sacramento Kings is that early 2000s, and there's probably portions of people, they know the name of Weber, Bibby, Peja, Doug, all that, but I don't know, De'Aaron Fox might move them more, or DeMarcus Cousins, or whatever that person they grew up with, and it's like, wow, these are legends right here, and they're part of the best stage of Kings basketball.
Oh, no question. And like you say, the fact that Doug is still around and doing TV and radio and things, that keeps him out front a little bit, but more probably a lot a lot of fans just remember him from that part of his career, as opposed to what a good player he was, or Bobby Jackson and Page. Like you say, it changes. And,
fast.
And fast.
Yeah.
And I understand it. I mean, I get that. We do, as you know, the pregame show, the postgame show, which we do up on the concourse. And I love talking to the fans and stuff, but so many of them, boy, I grew up watching you on TV. I said, well, actually, I did a lot of stuff before that.
A lot of stuff.
I mean, I'm really old, and so,
But stuff you're proud of that you almost like, hey, you know what else I've done?
Yeah, I mean, it's very true, but, I always know that it doesn't mean anything to them, and it shouldn't.
Yeah.
They have no reason to be concerned about what I did when I was...
You need to carry around a baseball card with all your stats and all your stuff. Just hand them out. Like, hey, here's a little reminder.
Well, I mean, up till recently, now I don't know, maybe it's been changed, but I batted .448 for a career, which was the best in the history of the school.
Okay.
Now...
Has it been broken?
I think it has, but I don't know. I mean, this up till 10 years ago, it hadn't.
Wow.
And so I'm always been kind of proud of that. But there's a kind of a catch on that, because it's not like California,
right?
Where you play 50 games or whatever, the weather's such. I mean, in Indiana,
is this a 2-game sample?
Oh, it's pretty small. I mean, 15 games.
Okay, but still,
a year,
you did
15 games a year,
right.
Kind of thing. I mean, it's just terrible baseball climate, and that's why there's very few guys, top baseball players, come from there. Comparatively speaking, there'll be more guys drafted from Sacramento area than come out of the state in 5 years.
Right.
You know, I mean, just for a lot of that reason. Plus, kids start focusing on basketball.
Right.
Like when I was in Georgia, if a really good athlete, I coached there for a number of years. Most high school athletes, if they're really good, pretty soon they'd be focusing on football.
Yeah.
Just a different mentality.
I might have a school record, Jerry, in high school.
What was it?
This is a very unofficial, but we were playing Laguna Beach, Woodbridge High School, just annihilating them. Mm-hmm. Team scored like 27 runs, 27-2, something like that. I made 2 outs in 1 inning. We went through the lineup, and I mean, I hit the ball hard both times, and I hit it right to them. And like, it was a day, I think I went 0 for 6 or 0 for 7. Everybody on the team had 2 or 3 hits. I made 2 outs in the same inning.
Now, see, that does some.
I at least share the record. I can't imagine.
I'm not surprised that very few people would admit that. See?
Well, it's a record.
I know, but you could have kept it.
I could have, but we're opening up here.
But we are opening up. We're sharing.
We're sharing, maybe too much.
We're sharing.
Yeah.
And, of course, I was just thinking of that too. We were talking about all the sports. We loved all sports, and that's not quite true in my case. I lettered in cross country in high school and went to state. In fact,
that doesn't sound fun.
I hated it.
Yeah, why did you do that?
Well, there was the basketball coach made everybody run cross country, and then while I was running, I might as well be as good as I can be. But I hated it.
Yeah.
I always remember, one of those deals that, you're out there running in October and it's cold.
It was punishment.
And you're going up a hill, and I remember the coach saying, Jerry, come on, you can catch that guy. And, there's snot running down my nose and froze. And I'm thinking, I don't want to catch him. I just want to go home.
Right. Yeah. Running always felt like punishment from the other sports. Like, if you were in trouble or you made an error or you had a bad defensive game on the football team or basketball team, it was running. It was punishment.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that.
Well, I'm with you there. Yeah. I mean, I enjoy track and field because, it's a little more, but cross country, no.
Yeah,
no.
Not for me.
I mean, I admire people that,
just go out and run.
Do it and run it and love it and bless their hearts.
Yeah.
And I'm not among them.
I'm with you.
And so now, after Davis, what, how did you get into your first job? And
I'm learning that. Well, I learned pretty quickly how fortunate I've become because right out of school, I had basically 2 options. I was looking for anything in radio or anything in media. And I had an opportunity to go back to Orange County to work for, I don't even think it exists anymore, the Orange County News Channel. It was like a 24-hour news channel. It was an internship, and I thought, well, I'll go back home-ish, kind of in that area, and sure. Or I had sent in a demo tape and a resume to KHTK, and they had one local sports talk show, but it was more of a just kind of talk in general. And I met with then my first boss who hired me was Mike Ramey. And he said he liked my tape. He liked what I had done, but he said all he had open right now was there was going to be a gentleman that was missing 2 weeks to go on vacation, but could I board op? And I was not really excited about that, but I knew that was my way in, but it would be paid for 2 weeks. So my decision was to go home to Orange County to work for free or try this 2-week run. And I had a girlfriend at the time that was still up here for the summer. And so I was like, there were too many things pointing to staying here. So I tried the 2-week run at board opping, and the guy never came back.
Really?
He never came back. And
now, you didn't have anything to do with that, did you?
Well, Jerry, I'm not sharing everything on the show.
I was going to say.
I'm not going to share absolutely everything. No, it's a mystery. It almost feels like a figment. Like I tell other people that have been around the station a long time, you remember? And I can't even honestly remember it. I think his name honestly was Jerry. Do you remember that guy, Jerry? And they're like, yeah, vaguely. Like a lot of people, it almost feels like I'm making this up. But he didn't come back after the 2 weeks. And that was the summer I just graduated in 94. And so I stayed on kind of doing that shift of board opping. But in that summer, KHTK got the rights to the Kings from KFBK. And so, Gary Gerald already came over to do the games, and Grant then came over from, I think, another sports station in town, may have been KSAC at the time. And Tim Roy came over, and so Jack Youngblood was already there. And then Mike Ramey, my boss at the time, said, we're going to need a reporter in the Kings locker room. Oh, yeah. Now we're talking. Now I get to do that. So my very first year, I was board opping and kind of was the Kings locker room reporter. And I said, all right, this is pretty cool. Yeah. So I was just starting, but that's how it started. And I didn't even intern. It just kind of, I was very, very fortunate. And the way these careers go, people bounce all over the place. I've stayed in one spot for 25 years. Yeah, I was going to say,
it's really remarkable. I mean, it's, probably both of us could attest to that. I mean, it's rare.
Not normal.
No, it isn't normal by any standards where you get to stay any length of time. Of course, I think a lot of it is, you're so versatile. We talked about that before. I mean, you can do every sport. You've been on pretty much every format of sports talk, and I think that is a real talent. Whether it's fitting in or having your own show, you can do it any way there is.
Yeah, and maybe it goes back to sports a little bit, where I don't know that I'm perceived as the star at the station, and that's fine. I don't care. I can work with anybody. I have worked with everybody. And maybe that's helped in longevity.
I'm sure it has. Yeah. I've never heard anybody say a bad word about you.
If you do, let me know.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to find them. I don't know what I'll do. I just want to find them.
Yeah, well, we'll.
They're out there.
You. Okay, they're out there. I know they are. We'll find them. But
yes.
Yeah, no, I was going to say I don't think anybody on earth has not offended somebody. I know. Last time I checked, even Jesus had somebody turned on him. So
yeah.
So there you are.
Be careful there.
Be careful there, buddy.
Think he wasn't in the social media age.
And no, boy, and that is the truth.
Yes,
yes. Are you on Twitter and all that?
I am. Everybody's still waiting for you. They'll keep waiting?
They'll keep waiting.
Yeah, it's a dangerous place. It's a dangerous place. I like the information you find, and there's some really clever, funny things. But there's a lot of venom and just unnecessary stuff that you just didn't ask for. Didn't solicit.
Well, I just from reading, just basically,
it's the same
on the internet, stories about anybody, and then if they allow comments, it's the
same idea.
Where the B, I know, at least makes people identify themselves, which is cut down a lot of it, but certainly, some people are, they dislike things so strongly they'll identify themselves and be proud of it, and maybe rightly so, but I've always been a little scared. I've just seen so many people just ruin themselves, with without thinking, react to something, and it's easy to do, I think.
Yeah, to get caught up in it, I try to use it for information because it's the fastest. The Kings make this trade. Wow, it's here in seconds, and then boom, it spreads like wildfire. That's good information. And like I said, there's a clever, they could switch our heads in this picture or do some funny thing. Okay, that's pretty funny. But other than that, it's more for information for me.
Yeah. No, just seeing, people that are on air personalities and all, what the political correctness and social justice warriors can do to people, that they say one little thing that
Right.
they're offended by, and careers can be lost or
Yeah.
certainly damaged, and when maybe almost no intent,
Right.
it's just a slip of the tongue, or
Yeah.
I think which people are. I know if I were probably taped all day long, I always say though, it's like those shows, where they'll follow somebody around all day, and I used to get that with the Kings, where they'd say, well, we want so I have a deal where some kid intern from a high school, they want to follow you around all day, and I said, no, unless they want to watch me take naps. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of anything worse.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
And
Day
don't
in the
do-
life of Jerry. You don't want them following you?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
No, the life of Jerry is one of the good things. Is the life of Jerry is
Yeah.
a very.
It's your life.
It's my life.
Yeah,
And but
But others thrive on that. Like, let me tell you about my life. Let me show you all this stuff. And some of
Yeah.
it, is that really every day, or are you putting that on for show?
yeah, and I mean, there are people I know that love to entertain, love people.
Yeah.
Around all the time.
Right.
A lot of athletes can't. They're, of course, that's one of the reasons they go bankrupt sometime, trying to support everybody. But
Right.
not me and Mrs. Reynolds. We're definitely
Respect your privacy.
enjoy our privacy.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good.
So we can argue in private.
That's right.
Very important.
Yes. Yes.
So anyway, now, when did you get married?
Let's see. That would have been. I'm trying to timeline it.
Yeah, you better get it right.
Well, no, I know when. I was trying to think of after I had started at KHTK. I've been there for a while, and that's actually where I met my wife. Was at the radio station. Yeah, we got married in 2001. So I'd been at the station about 7 years.
So was it love at first sight, or?
No, it just developed, which was good. We had done back to sports. We were on the company co-ed softball team together.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and then we had a special work project. She was in the sales element as an account executive, and was representing kind of that group on the sales end. I was doing the kind of behind the scenes, cutting up all the station audio. She knew what they wanted from the sales end. I had the audio, so we had a project that there was a couple of account executives and I and her that worked together. And then, softball team, and then it was just more and more, and then, it just kind of started as a friendship, and then grew as a partnership and a marriage.
Great.
Yeah,
And you more or less still get along.
I get along great with her. I don't know how she feels about me. No, she does. We get along great.
We know.
Yes.
I can't even kid about that.
Well, no, you can't, because our wives, not with our knowing, have seen each other at the mall, and then my wife, I'll be gone about 20 minutes. And then she came back 4 hours later. You'll never guess who I ran into.
Oh.
And I said, you were talking the whole time?
No, she couldn't have been. She was listening for at least 3 out of the 4 hours. I can tell you, because she ran into my wife, right?
Maybe they just talked at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but
Yeah, I
literally,
think there's a good chance they were just talking over each other. That could have been that.
it was not, and that's not an over, it was at least 3 to 4 hours. And
I've seen them together from a distance, and it's
like, oh boy.
It's a
Jerry, let's go to a movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a miraculous thing. They're just and they're just as
They're talkers.
they're talkers.
Yeah.
So what can you say?
So you're a good listener.
Huh?
You're a good
Not really. But that's no. That is one of the things. The advantage of a man cave.
Yeah.
With the door closed.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And so we've gotten there.
There you go. But
And
you're still married, and we're still married.
wouldn't do it any different.
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
to
Me
say,
too.
no. But
Yeah.
I mean, the wonderful thing about being married is, as you know, and all married couples, especially husbands, know, is that it allows you to learn a lot of flaws you didn't know you had. And
Yeah.
so
The list is long.
the list is long, and it
Yes.
seems like getting longer, but
Yeah.
it working on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Working on 'em.
Day by day.
Day by day.
Yeah.
So now, okay, now you're 1140, and were you doing Kings at that time, doing some Kings work?
Yeah, pretty much from the beginning. I mean, the locker room kind of turned into a King/KHTK position, so it was the Kings post-game show, but I was kind of a Kings employee at the time. So pretty much since '94 as well at both places, and then more things started to develop on each side. So, maybe a weekend show became available. I did a weekend show years ago. The Kings need a little bit more work somewhere here, or show up at this appearance. I used to have a weekly Kings talk show, and you know, I was maybe third on the depth chart, but 2 guys were out. Oh, you're filling in this week. And this is a story I remember about you. I remember I was still in Davis, but I was working at KHTK, so it would have been about 96. I can remember this very well, and I called you to get just some information. I'm hosting Kings Talk, I think, for the first time, and I had a dry erase board right by our phone. And you were so gracious with time, just giving me all sorts of insight. And I'm writing all these notes on my dry erase board. And I think the way it ended was I was just floored that you gave me what seemed to be all this inside information. I mean, it wasn't like top secret, but just really good stuff that I could use for the show. And I said, Jerry, you know, thank you so much for your time. I can't believe you told me all this. And I think you said something along the lines like, well, you didn't get it from me, and if you say you did, who are they going to believe, me or you? And I thought, you know, that is great. That is a great answer. And I mean, I've never, well, I guess I'm ratting you out now. Yeah, well, but if someone has a problem with that show in 96.
I deserve, if you have a problem with the 96 show, then it's me.
But it was, so that was an opportunity that I had. So it's like, oh, well, here's a chance, a 2-hour Kings Talk show. You know, and for you individually, it's such a big deal. And I don't know how many people were even listening, but you gave me great information.
Well, you know, the way I looked at it was, I mean, we were on the same team, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm working for the Kings, so I'm a homer, and you.
I want them to win, and but I just try to have information.
I'll never apologize for that, you know. And but then now, of course, when was the first time you started filling in for Gary Gerald? Because I knew, you know, he used to do a lot of racing, and that opened up quite a large segment of games that you were doing for years.
Yeah, so had an opportunity to do some Monarchs games when Coase and Krista were doing the games, and Coase would do TV, so there was a little bit of a window to do some radio games, maybe a handful a year. So I think I'd shown some of the people in the Kings organization, like, hey, just whenever the time comes, if there's ever a game, I'd love to fill in. And at that point, you know, Grant's doing TV with you. G-Man's doing radio, and Coase was the primary backup. And I can't remember what happened. I think he broke his foot. There was something where he literally was injured, and the Kings were opening the season in Dallas and San Antonio. And maybe it was flip-flop either way, but Texas. And I got a call from Craig Amazine, our old boss then, and he said, well, I liked making these phone calls, but I got some news for you. I said, okay. He goes, G-Man's missing because of racing, and his injury is going to keep him from going, you know, now my heart's racing. I think I know the next thing he's going to ask me. And he said, would you be willing to do the Kings game on the radio? And I mean, that's as fast as yes you could possibly say. I was so excited. Now, what was unique about that trip, that's when House Party was a show. Yeah. And they were going to have Grant do it, which just because of Coase's injury, I think Katie and Fat were on the road, and so it was going to be done. And unfortunately, the morning of the game, Grant's father passed.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
So Craig then calls me and says, you know, I have to throw another thing on your plate. You're hosting House Party tonight, too. And I'm going, yes. Yeah. The answer is yes. You just have to do it. And so here I'm kind of making my debut on that show. I'm calling the Kings game that I'm really want to put all my energy into, and you just got to do it. And I think I did a good job, and you just get the opportunity. I got some good reviews on the TV part. That's not even what I was most excited about, but that was different. And then got a chance to fill in. And then there was a little window after that where Coase was no longer a Kings employee. And then Gary was doing racing, and I was getting 10 to 12 games a year and absolutely loving it.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I mean, really, I think, and I've told people, I mean, I'm not trying to, you know, stroke you. I mean, you don't need that. But I think if Grant were ever to take another job or you'd be great in that role. And I think with Gary Gerald, and Gary knows that if Gary finds the time when he doesn't want to do it or can't do it, that you'd be perfect in that role. I mean, you've proven that. Yeah, I know. And I mean, I think you would be great. And
that's created a little bit of a not a issue, because I'm more than happy and content. Love Sacramento, love it here. Like that thought, like, do I need to go somewhere else? I don't want to, but I would like to do some of those things. And I've been behind 2 guys that are great, and they've done it for 35 and 32 years. Yeah, and they deserve to keep doing it as long as they want to.
And as you know, with G-Man, I mean, I don't think there's a more professional.
He's incredible.
I mean, the amount of preparation. I know I was sat behind him on the plane, team plane on the charter, and of course I'd be getting some snacks to eat and relaxing while he's
working.
He's working.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's amazing.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, people always ask me, is Gary as nice a person in real life as he seems? I said, actually nicer, really,
Yeah.
if anything.
It's true.
He's actually nicer.
Yeah, as I'll have family or friends that are rooting for me in some sense, like when's he going to be done? When are you going to get in there? And I'm like, well, you know what? I love G-Man. Like, he is honestly great. He's a great human being. He's great to work with.
Yep.
He should go as long as he wants.
That's what I say. I think, I guess being an old fart myself, I certainly went as long as
but you chose that.
I chose that, and I'm very appreciative how the Kings allowed me, and I'm still involved in a little different, much lesser level, which has worked.
Yeah.
And I think that's with G-Man.
He loves the travel. Like, you got tired of that. But he loves it.
I hated it.
So good for him.
I think, too, with G-Man, the thing that helped, he got out of racing.
Yeah.
And I think that really relieved his schedule so much.
I don't know how he did that.
I don't either. Yeah. And I always said, for me, had the Monarchs really not went away, I'm not sure how I could have, because it was just wearing me down.
Sure. It was all year.
It was year round.
Yeah.
And that was, anyway. So that gave me a few more years with a little bit of energy and things like that. Now I know you do you do podcasts for the Kings as well as, I think, Sac State football. Isn't that right? And then you do Sac State basketball. Is that?
I did for a while. I was more of an analyst, which was fine. But I mean, to me, that's more of a coach or a former player role. I could have done it, and then I would only do home games, and there would get to be so many conflicts with the Kings where I was showing up at 3 or 4 games a year, and I thought I don't think that's fair to the audience. And,
good point.
So I stopped. I'll go as a fan and support. But I just don't think.
I really enjoy Coach Katz.
He's great.
I think he does a great job, and it's really tough circumstances, but does a great job. And of course, Jimmy Lasset Davis, I think, is terrific and one of my all-time favorites. But it's a shame that. Both those programs don't get a little better support. I'm always a little bit surprised by that. I mean, facilities to some degree, maybe.
Yeah, for Sac State, for sure.
I think the professional aspect, and I think we've seen that. I always said, just about anywhere where you get an NBA team, it does affect the college game a little bit. UCLA would probably be a pretty good example of that. Your
My love.
Adopted love.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true, because I think as a culture, I don't know how else to say it, but we are always infatuated with the top. So what's the best? The best is the NBA. Even the NBA talking about like these tournaments. Interesting concept, interesting idea. I care about the championship.
Oh, yeah. Interesting thought there. To me, it just, I don't care about a mid-season. What does that mean?
Yeah, someone wins a golf tournament, great. You win a major, that's different. You know, hey, you won the bronze medal, good for you.
Yeah.
But we care who won
the gold,
or the heavyweight, whatever our ceiling where we've launched the peak. That's what we all kind of. Now you can appreciate high school sports and other things for what they are.
Sure,
but
and being really good at any levels, being really good at any level, and
absolutely.
You want to appreciate that. And I do think as a society, we've gotten too enthralled with, if you don't win a ring, you're nothing.
Right.
It
can't be that.
Really?
Right.
Yeah. How's that? So, does that mean Karl Malone and John Stockton really weren't any good?
Yeah.
Or Akeem Olajuwon won 2, but if Jordan don't play baseball for 2 years, he don't win 2.
Right. Yeah. And then it doesn't go the same way for someone who's won a bunch but is not the star, or
Robert
Steve
Horry
Kerr,
won.
Robert Horry
were 2 good examples of being at the right place at the right time. Very good players.
Good careers.
But the truth is, if they'd have played if he'd played his entire career at the Cleveland Cavaliers at that time, he would have.
Right. Eli Manning versus Dan Marino. Everybody's picking Dan Marino. Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl. Good for Eli to win too.
Yes.
Great career. Dan Marino's the quarterback.
By far.
Yeah.
You watch about 15 minutes.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah. I think Eli would say it.
And Eli would.
He should.
He should. Yeah, I think he would.
Yeah.
I think he would.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, I mean, too, that's one of those things, with today's game, it's so different. Things I don't like. I don't know, the load management stuff. It just really bugs me. I know I'm an old curmudgeon, and you don't have to get off my lawn, but it bugs me.
Think about it.
But, I mean, I just go back to and I still think most of the key players in the game today want to play every game they can. You hear James Harden, for whatever you think of James Harden, everybody don't like his style, but he's great.
Right.
And he wants to play every game.
Yeah.
And
I love it. LeBron's still doing it.
Westbrook and a LeBron James, who's a pretty good player, and a Antetokounmpo. Those guys, they want to trot out there every night, just like the guys in the '60s and the '70s and the '80s. So to me, it's like load management is, it's a disgrace, really.
And if science can prove it, then I'd change my mind. But I think that's where some of it is originating from. Then De'Aaron Fox from year one should have sat games. If that's really
so,
the case, then play 65 a year, De'Aaron, and play, or whatever young players coming in.
Or the old thing that you hear, he can play. He's been cleared to play 25 minutes. Okay, now explain to me why it's 25 and not 27.
Right.
Well, at 28, will his legs fall off, you think?
Yeah.
See, I think that's Dr. Bullcrap, by
right.
the way.
I'm with you.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's like they don't know.
Right.
I always remember years ago coaching and having NBA doctors saying that Ralph Sampson's had arthritic knees, which is no question, and so did Kenny Smith.
Yeah.
And they said, well, Kenny won't last very long. And this was when he's
with the Kings.
With the Kings,
okay.
Kind of rookie. He's got arthritic knees. So 12 years later, those arthritic knees gave way, I guess. And I told a doctor, one of our local doctors, I said, now explain to me why Kenny's arthritic knees go real fast, and Ralph's arthritic knees, he can barely walk.
Right.
It's like, they couldn't. So anyway.
Yeah,
so
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, it's like, hey, if they're cleared to play, they're cleared to play.
Yeah, and if not, then shut them down.
And and when a guy like Will Chamberlain could play more than 48 minutes a game because of overtime, he never missed a minute for a season.
It's possible.
It's possible.
Better training, better care of these guys.
The nutrition, the travel,
less back-to-backs.
Less back-to-backs. Yeah. It's all better, and I get that they want to. Probably the product would be better with fewer games, but if nobody's willing to give up money, then don't talk about it.
It's not happening.
Then don't talk about it.
Right.
And if you don't want to play 82, don't sign an 82-game contract. Say, I'm available for 50.
Right. Yeah, but take less money. Oh no, I'll play 82.
No. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's that. So trying to think of some other question to put you on the spot, but now, if the right opportunity came, for you to leave and do, you would have to accept that, I'm sure, to get a full-time gig covering a major team.
It would really be difficult. I remember, I don't know how many years ago this was now, Jerry, but the Cleveland Cavaliers job was open, and I applied. I said, well, I have to. It's one of 30 NBA play-by-play jobs.
Yeah.
And I remember telling my wife, I don't want it.
Yeah.
It never got that far, but what if I'm in the interview process and I'm one of the final candidates? I don't think I can say no, but I don't want to move to Cleveland.
Yeah.
And, it's not only that, it's, I've got a lot of things, the radio show or the radio station, Sac State, friends, family, all the stuff too, but Kings if I went to another place, it's probably just the one position, which would be great. I've built up a lot of things here too. So, I'm more than happy here with the Kings organization, with the radio station, with Sac State. I've been treated really well.
Well, I think a lot of times, a lot of people, young people, don't really understand that, like you say, that, okay, just for a little more money doesn't really change your lifestyle or make you happier.
Yeah.
And I know my wife and I went through that a few times, like, well, we could get a little more money by going here and doing this or that. And it's like, well, how's that going to be better for us?
Right. Someone we both knew very well, you better probably even than I did, but Scotty Sterling. And he did absolutely everything in the world, just the most fascinating career.
Yes.
He told me a story about, I think he was either with the Knicks but he left them to go chase money. I want to say it was with the rodeo or the bull ride, something along those lines. And he didn't like it. And he said, I chased never take a job just for the money. And if that's the reason, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. And he's not the first person to ever say that, but I think it just made a lot of sense. And he gave me a living example. And I'm like, all the things he had done with the Raiders and as a writer and fantasy football,
his career it's
amazing. Baseball scout, NBA scout, just had done everything, and here he is
worked
chasing
for Al
something.
Davis back in the day, the New York Knicks. I got to know him first as New York Knicks general manager, and when I first came to the league. But yeah, Scotty, that was just his career is one for the ages.
Yes,
really
did everything.
everything.
Yeah.
And I'd like to say,
So he chased
He
money.
was kind of a mentor to me. You
Yeah.
know? I mean, just kind of. I mean, it's one of those things that he knew everybody, knew everything, and I think probably he and Pete Carroll were probably two guys that, at the NBA level that, you listened to because you knew they knew.
Yeah, you should listen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
And,
had been
and
there.
there's a lot of people you shouldn't listen to. I mean,
Yeah, but those two would be on the list.
and I think that's a key too, is identifying those that you probably shouldn't listen
Yeah,
to as well.
that's important.
But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, with Scotty, I mean, he was remarkable.
A legend.
And just really
Yeah.
miss him. And
Yeah.
well, I don't know. I think we're kind of getting close to the end here, but a question I would really want to know: is there any advice that you would give to kind of others, young people that, in your circumstance, and maybe even yourself looking back? What advice could you give to those peoples as we kind of peoples?
It hopefully it would fit to any career, but if this is a path you want to go into media and broadcasting, whatever element that means to you, behind the scenes, in front of the mic, in front of a camera, behind the camera, is to say yes to everything. I mean, to every opportunity. You don't know where that's going to lead, and so it might be something that you haven't done. Someone asked you to do. I don't know if someone came up to me and said, "Hey, can you announce the rodeo at the arena?" Yes. And I've never done it. I'd watch some video. I'd figure out the vernacular. I mean, say, where's that going to lead? Maybe it was one time. And maybe it leads, maybe I'm become the longtime voice of the rodeo associate. I don't know. I think you have to say yes, and you have to be willing to work and do the hours. There's so many perks, but you might work on Christmas. You might work on New Year's. You might not work for 3 weeks. You might work for 45 days in a row. But you're seeing the best athletes. You're meeting some great people. It's honestly a wonderful. And I'm still waiting on third base for the Yankees, Jerry.
Well, they could be there.
I mean, this might be. They spent all that money on pitching, and maybe I could just help out.
But you realize, as a young person, there's no way when you were 16, 17 years old, you could picture yourself where you are today and the things you've accomplished and all that. I mean, I always tell young people, it's like they'll say, well, I'd like, how do I get to be a NBA coach or general manager or
When they want it
TV
today.
analyst? And I say, I don't know.
Right.
It wasn't ever a goal of mine.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit like just what you said. Be ready to, prepare yourself.
To be ready, and then when called
And then
on,
if you get
be
the
good.
call, then go say,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, because if you want to be a doctor, or I wanted to be a vet, well, I had to go to vet school, pre-med. I mean, there's a logic, a path, residency, internship, get hired on, you're a vet. I mean, you have to be qualified.
Well, yeah.
But for broadcaster, there's no point, to.
Well, but in your case, though, I mean, I always say, like with Grant and people like yourself, I mean, you really are trained.
True.
Now, I've always said, like with a color analyst, pretty much unless you're a former player or coach or something, it's not going to happen. Now, if you want to be the play-by-play, you better get some communications, broadcasting experience, and then be ready to prove yourself at every level.
Yeah.
And as opposed to say, well, yeah, I'm ready to take Grant Napier's job or Jason Ross's job or Gary Gerald's. Well, no, you're not.
You got to work at it.
You got to work at it, and it's a long time process.
Yeah, make your mistakes. I think even back to college, I'm working campus radio. I took on a local community public access sports TV show. I kind of created it, and it was terrible. But I learned, okay, now I saw a couple shows, saw the playback. I'm like, all right, this needs to be done differently. And not that I figured it all out, but I mean, I was really young and raw, and it's like I'd seen some sports television, and let's try this. And again, it was just a little Davis public access show that was bad, but made my mistakes. And okay, how can I get better? And I'm still improving. I mean, today I'm better than before, but hopefully I'll be better in the future. And you just keep working at it.
Yeah, and you really can't know exactly what's going to work out or not. I always remember kind of the Monarchs thing. I really didn't want to do it.
Yeah, but you said yes.
But the owner explained it to me in a way that I did understand.
Yeah.
And I did do it. And it's a great experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an experience
Great
I
people.
wouldn't have had.
Yeah.
Just loved it.
Love the Monarchs.
Yeah. Just enjoyed it. So great advice. And I think that hopefully young people out there in the world take more advice from people like Jason Ross, and you'll be better off. And just really want to tell you how much we appreciate you
thank
coming
you.
in. And
This was fun.
Obviously, have enjoyed your career, and I know there's a lot of good years left, and all the best years, I'm sure, are ahead.
I hope so. I hope so. Thank you, Jerry. I really appreciate it. And thank you for everything you've ever done for me, and we'll continue, because I'll keep calling you and keep bothering you, keep riding on my dry erase board.
And I'll keep answering.
Oh, good. That's good. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And from McCreary's, the Jerry Reynolds Show is officially over.